Hello chess lovers, welcome to the Chess Catalyst. In today's video, we are going to dive deep into a topic that every chess player from beginner to grandmaster grapples with: weaknesses. Chess is a game of strategy, and therefore identifying and exploiting weaknesses is often the key to winning a chess game. Whether you're looking to improve your chess game or sharpen your tactical skills and understand various types of weaknesses on the chessboard, keep watching this video, because in this video I'm going to uh, explain the concept of weaknesses. But to mind you, this video I'm just going to talk about the general uh, concept of weaknesses, and in further videos I'm going to look at each concept separately. So first of all, what are weaknesses? Weaknesses uh, are basically, let's say, it could be a square, it could be a piece, it could be your king. So this is just something that can be used against you, something that your opponent can exploit to attack you with. So in chess, there's no situation whereby you don't have a weakness. It's all about if your weakness can be attacked or not. So I've given you the basic definition of weaknesses, but normally a weakness is only a weakness when it can be attacked. When it can't be attacked, it's not actually a weakness, but it's a potential weakness. Let me put it that way. So I'm going to show you some basic type of weaknesses we have. I'm first of all going to show you a weakness, pawn weakness, which comes out from the Zoe Lopez. We have e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, bishop b5. Let's say the normal Zoe Lopez. Let's say this happens. Now, these doubled pawns are weaknesses. They are weaknesses, but for now they can't actually be attacked. So they are potential weaknesses. They can't actually be attacked. So these two pawns you see are weaknesses. But for now, since they can't be attacked, you call them potential weaknesses. And let me show you a quick opening in the Italian game. In this game, this square you see is actually a weakness. The f7 square is a weakness because only the king defends it. So that makes it a weakness, and that's whereby you see moves like knight f3 trying to attack the f7 square. So most times when a weakness is discovered, you just have to pile up your pieces and attack that weakness. That's what chess is all about. You may see grandmasters playing move, you may think they are doing advanced calculations and so on, but they are not. They are just attacking weaknesses. I'm going to show you a weakness in an end game. This is a quick position in the end game. So I first of all would like you to identify the weaknesses for both sides. You can pause the video and try to identify the weaknesses for both sides. And mind you, I want you to actually understand this concept of weaknesses, because I was actually struggling with, let's say I was 1500 rated on chess.com, but when I understood the concept of weaknesses, I was able to progress till I'm now 1800. I'm presently 1800 rapid on chess.com. So the principle of weaknesses helped me a lot. So at this point, which weakness do you think black has, and which weakness do you think white has? So let's first of all point out black's weaknesses. One of black weaknesses is this square. This square is weak because there are no pawns to defend the square. So another way you can define weaknesses are just basically, a weakness can be a square that cannot be defended by any pawn. And also a weak pawn can be of different variety. There's the backward pawn. We also have the isolated pawn, the hanging pawn, the doubled pawns. So the backward pawn, as you see here, is just a pawn that can't advance and it can't be defended by any other pawn. So this is a backward pawn. It is connected to another pawn, but it can't advance, as once it advances it can be taken for free. So this is the backward pawn. And then Another concept I want you to understand is what we call the pawn islands. This can also be weaknesses. Pawn islands are basically the number of pawns that are connected with each other, the number of connections. So black has just one pawn island, even though black is down a pawn. This alone is a pawn island. Meanwhile, white has two pawn islands, these pawns and this pawn here. So white has two pawn islands. So to get back to the question, I'm still going to go in depth to all those other weaknesses in future videos, but I don't want to make this video too long as it's just the general concept. So to go down to the video, what do you think white weaknesses are? Well, this pawn on b3 is a weakness, it's a backward pawn. Even though it can advance, yeah, it can advance, but as long as it's not yet advanced, it's a backward pawn. And this is also a weakness because there's no pawn. It's actually an isolated pawn. Isolated pawns are pawns that can't be defended by any other pawn, only by a piece. So it's actually a weakness because it's an isolated pawn. So at this point, white is threatening to capture the pawn on d6, if you notice, and it has two attackers and two defenders. So one way white can try to exploit this weakness could be to move his king up to this square, or maybe move the pawns and then try to play something like this. So let's say a move happens. Let's say white first of all placed here to just lock the weakness. One thing you need to understand also is that before you attack a weakness, sometimes it's a good idea to make sure you immobilize the weakness, to make sure it can't move. So the black kick may play this, we just move. And if you notice, black is actually in zugzwang. What zugzwang actually means is just a tactic whereby black has no good move. Any move black plays could be problematic for him. So black can either move the rook or move the king. For now, it's not that bad, but when the king gets close, it will be bad. When the white king gets close, it will be bad. So let's say I just continue with our plan. Let's say black plays this move, we continue with our plan. Black plays, we continue. Now at this point, one of the pieces has to move as the pawns can't move. So let's say something like this happens. We play this, we are actually winning a pawn. We are winning a pawn, and then after this can come by. And if you see, we are up material. So that's one way of attacking weaknesses in the end game. Like I said, there are other types of weaknesses. We also have the doubled pawns, which I'm going to show you now. So I just set up a position, even though it's not a position that may likely appear in a real game, but I just want you to understand the concept. So in this position, I first of all want you to point out the weaknesses both sides has. How many pawn islands do both sides have? And what are the weaknesses? Like I said, I talked about the doubled pawns. This is a doubled pawn. They are just pawns that are in front of each other and can't be defended by side side pawns. That is the double isolated pawn. But when they can be defended by another pawn, which is these pawns here, is not really much of a weakness because it can be defended by another pawn. But when it can be defended by another pawn, it's a big weakness. So this is an isolated pawn. The pawn on a5 is an isolated pawn. It can be defended by any other pawn. So it's an isolated pawn. This pawn here is a backward pawn. A backward pawn, even though it can advance, but for now it is a backward pawn. For black, we have this weakness. This weakness is a backward pawn. So the pawn on b7 is a backward pawn. So let's say there was a rook. We could just bring the rook over to b7 and attack it, because if you notice, it can't actually advance, and this pawn also can't advance. This pawn also can't advance, and black has two pawn islands. These pawns these pawns and then these pawns. White has actually 3 pawn islands. This pawn and these pawns. These are 3 pawn islands because they're connected. So in weaknesses, we also have the king safety, we also have the pawn structure. But for this video, this is the basic I'm going to cover. I'm going to look at those in further videos. So make sure you like and subscribe, and any questions you have in the comment section, I'll try my best to answer them. So this is all I'll be doing for this video. I hope you like this video, and like I said, stay tuned because I'm going to talk about other weaknesses in the coming video. That'll be all for now. Stay tuned and keep playing chess.